Hi, I'm Shane Lopez. I'm a Gallup senior scientist, and I'm a business professor at the University of Kansas. I study hope for a living. So I try to figure out how hopeful people live their daily lives and become more happy and productive. Hope is the belief that the future will be better than the present, coupled with the belief that you have the power to make it so. You need those two beliefs kind of joined together to be hopeful. A belief that the future will be better than the present is optimism, which is a healthy attribute, but you have to combine that with a sense of agency and a sense of an ability to come up with pathways, thoughts to actually have hope. So you need optimism plus agency plus a whole bunch of plans. Hope is good for us for a whole lot of reasons. Number one, it's hard to be happy without being hopeful. So hope is kind of the domino that knocks over the happiness domino in life. Also, we are much more productive when we're hopeful. So a hopeful student can actually achieve a letter grade higher than a less hopeful student of equal intellect. And a hopeful worker is more productive than a less hopeful worker. So you get done as a hopeful worker as much by 4 o'clock as it takes your colleague who's less hopeful to get done by 5 o'clock. So you're actually 14% more productive at work and you're 12% more productive at school. So hope for the future really pays off today. Hopeful people pursue 2 or 3 goals that matter to them most, 2 or 3 goals that will give them meaning or purpose. They know, as hopeful people, that you can't juggle 10, 12, 20 different goals. And I think that's a major mistake a lot of people make when they're trying to make change in their lives and become healthier, is they try to do it on the back of an already chaotic life. And they try to figure out how they can be more hopeful and pursue more goals when they're already tapped out. So one thing you have to figure out is how to edit down your life to 2 or 3 health goals that really matter to you most. And then you have to be clear, specific, and additive in those goals. So you have to set them in a way that they really kind of jump off the page, or there's really kind of a picture of what you're pursuing. They have to be real specific. So when will you start dieting? What will you eat? How will you change your habits? So you have to get really specific about that. And then it has to be additive. So you can't just be taking away stuff from your life all the time. You have to figure out how you can add things into your life as well. Hoping is very productive. It's very beneficial to you, but it has a weak cousin called wishing. And hoping and wishing overlap in that people who are hopeful think the future will be better than the present. People who are wishful really believe the future will be better than the present. But it's that next layer of belief that distinguishes hopers from wishers. A hopeful person believes that hope is hard work, that making the future better, that achieving these goals that matter to you most is really hard work. Therefore, you have to come up with lots of plans and lots of willpower to sustain yourself in pursuit of the goals that matter to you most. Wishful people believe that the wish will manifest into reality, and they can take this approach in a very passive way. They can set the goals, and if they just think about it hard enough and maybe write themselves a note every now and then, they can actually achieve the goal that matters to them. Well, that just doesn't work. So that passive approach is actually counterproductive. You will not achieve the goal you've set, but you also will undermine the willpower you have for other goals in your life. So wishing is quite destructive and hoping is quite productive. When hopeful people hit obstacles, they kind of bounce back and they almost have this twinkle in their eye. It's like, oh, I knew this was coming, or I anticipated that this was not going to be easy. And then they immediately come up with new and different plans to get around that obstacle. So an obstacle to a hopeful person is an expected challenge, something that they are prepared for. So hopeful people are realists. They realize that between point A where they are and point B where they want to be, there will be a lot of obstacles. And they come up with multiple plans to overcome those obstacles. They're also not shy about reaching out for support and help. So if they run into an obstacle that they can't overcome, they realize, oh, maybe so-and-so can help me with this, and they reach out for help and support. And then finally, sometimes if we hit enough obstacles as we're pursuing a goal, some of the most hopeful among us say, well, okay, wait, am I really meant to go for that goal? Is that where my meaning truly lies? Or am I seeing all these obstacles because my talent and my excitement and my interest don't really lie in that big goal? So hopeful people are reassessing sometimes and trying to figure out, can I recoup my energy and pursue other goals that might mean as much? So re-goaling is a critical strategy of a very hopeful person. And sometimes that's how we truly achieve resilience, is we change the outcome we're searching for just a little bit, and then we figure out that there's a better, more doable path to that outcome, and then we kind of live to fight another day. Once we reach that point where we're very near death, either due to an ongoing terminal illness or a very brief illness in some cases that take loved ones quickly, that understanding of death, that story you've told about your life needs to be edited. In a very rudimentary way, we start telling a different story about our lives. We start telling a story about our ending. And the most hopeful people at the end of their lives are trying to accomplish a few more things, mainly related to their family and friends. So they start trying to figure out how they can say goodbyes. They start trying to figure out how they can end on a peaceful note. They start trying to figure out how they can have a little bit of freedom at the end of life. And that's where you see these endings that have some meaning and some significance to them of people's lives. There are some people who, once they realize that they've lost hope for the future because of an illness, they have a break. They have a break with who they were, the story they were told, and they become focused on ending their lives as quickly as possible because they can't handle the fear that comes along with that reality. And I think that's when the most hopeful people, the caretakers around them, can help them come to terms with how this story might end differently. To become a more hopeful person, you have to figure out what you're truly excited about. And oftentimes those are the things that give you the most meaning and purpose in life. For many people, they're excited about one day having a good job or even a better job than they have right now. So if you're in school, you're thinking about the future, and it's like, one day I want a good job. If you're in the workplace or thinking about going back to the workplace, you're thinking about, oh, I want a better job than I used to have. But also people are really motivated by having strong relationships and really close friends and a happy family. So you do have to identify the things that you're most excited about and invest heavily in them. So we spend a lot of our days doing things that we're not at all excited about. We spend a lot of our time doing things that we're not at all good at. So when you can find something you're excited about and you're good at and invest heavily in that, you'll start having kind of this flurry of hopeful thoughts. Wow, I'm really good at that. Photography, I'm going to take a class. Oh, I need to travel more because now I'm good at photography and I need to take more pictures. Oh, I want to share my pictures with other people. Let me try to do this. So you really kind of act differently around that goal pursuit. And then once you kind of capture that enthusiasm and excitement for one thing in your life, you then can generalize it to other things. And then you can find ways to kind of teach yourself how to be hopeful in other pursuits that are manageable and doable. But one of the key ways to learn how to be hopeful, and it's a real shortcut, but it's an important one, is to find the most hopeful person in your life and spend time with him or her. Because they'll teach you that, hey, you can only chase so many meaningful goals at a time. They'll teach you that you have to come up with multiple plans to get to those goals, or you're going to get stuck. And they'll teach you that you have to sustain your energy over time, or you'll run out of gas and you won't get things accomplished. So the two shortcuts really are finding out what you're most excited about in life and doing more of that, and surrounding yourself with hopeful people who can teach you the steps of hope.